Hi everyone, and welcome to another session. Excited to be bringing you session 5, where we're talking about reviewing and planning. So on that theme of reviewing and planning, we've done 4 sessions already. The first session we were talking about purpose, themes and foundations. So if you remember, we were talking about the themes in your life and the patterns that you may have seen. We also dug into the 5 whys, and if you remember doing that exercise, just try and remember what was that final why that everything was resting on for you. In session 2, we dug into some more business planning, where we were looking at the 4 P's: product, price, place, promotion. We added in mission. We looked at legal structures and planning. Session 3, we were looking at sales, marketing and branding, and your message, your brand voice, the look, the feel and everything else. So again, just reflecting on the journey so far. The last session, session 4, we were looking at building, scaling and leadership, and where our kingdom purpose fits into all of this as well. We were looking at mindset and time management. So today we're going to be looking at reviewing and planning, as we've been reviewing already. The next session we'll be looking at measures and mentors, and then our final session, again, we're going to tap into sales, marketing and branding, but really specifically focusing in on seasonal sales. So how are you doing so far? Again, we're going to get into some journaling prompts shortly, but it's just good to go back and reflect and review and really kind of see how far you've come, see where you are, see what maybe some of the challenges have been, where some of the wins have been as well. So the power of planning. There's a book that I read called The 12-Week Year, highly recommend it. And it really, my biggest takeaway from that book was treating 12 weeks as though they're 12 months. Because often what we do, we've got the whole year, we're at the beginning of the year and we're planning, I want to do this and that, I've got all these goals and things that I want to achieve. And sometimes you almost get to month 10 or 11 and 12 and like trying to scramble to get it all done. But actually, if you take 12 weeks, which is 1/4 of the year, and you take those 12 weeks, each week, almost as though it's a month, and be incredibly intentional about every single week, you will be amazed at what you can get done. So what I often do is I often set my goals per quarter. And then what happens is when I hit that first quarter and I've strategically mapped out my time, not just my time, but also things that are happening, birthdays, holidays, different things that are happening. So, you know, where I think I've got 12 weeks, I might only have maybe 10 or 9 or 8. And still I'm being strategic with the time that I do have to ensure I get those goals met. Then by the end of quarter 1, I've attacked and I've made 2, 3, 4, 5 goals happen. Awesome. Quarter 2. Now we're in April, May, June. Okay, what's my goal for this quarter? What's happening this quarter? It's Easter, it's spring, it's different things happening. What's my goal? I want to achieve this, I want to achieve that, I want to achieve that. And I strategically plan out my time. Boom, I've got another set of goals done. By the time I get to December, by the time I get to the end of the year, I've achieved so much. And this is how we can be really specific, intentional with our time, is really taking these quarters, 12 weeks, 90 days, and treating them as though it's a whole year. So the power of planning. So I often do each quarter, and this is the exercise we're going to go through today as we review, as we plan. The beautiful thing about reviewing is you're looking back. So you look back on the past quarter, literally take some time out, put it in your diary 4 times a year, that I'm coming to the end of this quarter and now I'm sitting down and I'm reviewing the last quarter. How was last quarter? What was my goals? What did I achieve? What did I not achieve? Why? What are the lessons that I've learnt? Then I begin to look at where I've been. I see where I am. And from where I am, I can now plan forward. And not plan, what's the next 5, 10 years? No. What's the next quarter? What's my goal for the next quarter? Specific, could be 1, 2, 3. I wouldn't do more than 5. Again, what can I realistically get done in this quarter? Scheduling key activities, scheduling marketing, looking at learning goals. So if this is my goal for the quarter, I want to, maybe do better financially. I want to save a certain amount of money because I've got a certain amount of money coming in and it's going to help me for the future. So actually, if I have one of my goals is to save a certain amount of money, is there some learning goals I can add to that? Are there some podcasts that I can listen to? Are there some books that I can read? What are my learning goals that are attached to my goals for this quarter. So I'm focusing everything around my goals, focusing my time around my goals. I'm focusing my learning and my listening, what I'm taking in around my goals. And even my style, yes, because I'm a fashion designer. So when it comes to personal style, how does also that look around your goals as well? In terms of my goal is to get out and network a lot more. So therefore, my personal style, I'm thinking about the season. So maybe I've just come out of winter and we're going into spring. So my wardrobe is automatically changing, whether you realize it or not. You're automatically maybe going to be pulling out some t-shirts or some lighter clothes over the winter clothes. So because I'm going into a new season and it's a new quarter, let me be intentional actually about what I'm doing. So because I now know what my goals are, how does my style connect with that? And again, just the power of sometimes just writing this thing down, that I'm going into spring, I'm going to be doing a lot more networking. I need to look professional, but I also need to be cool because the weather's warming up. What does that look like? What have I already got in my wardrobe that I can start to even put together a few outfits so that when a networking event does come up, or a speaking event or a conference or something that I know that I need to be attending this quarter because it's in line with my goals, I'm already ready. I'm not suddenly spinning around like, what do I wear? Because sometimes that can be the thing that throws us off. But when I've been intentional about it, it can be really, really powerful. I remember there was one year where we were, again, I think we were going into the winter season. And in the August, September, I just began to write just randomly on a piece of paper. And now I do it very intentionally in my planner. But I just began to write what I want to look like that during that season as winter was coming up. And so I had, been quite specific about colours and styles and different textures and where I was going, what I was doing and how I wanted to look. And so I started to put that together, closed the book, didn't really think about it again, carried on with my life. Somewhere in December, I stumbled across this page and I read it and I was blown away because it was verbatim how I looked every day. That was literally my look laid out, but it was the power of intention. So I wrote the vision, made it plain, I could read it, and then I ran with it. I didn't even go back and refer to it, which is what I recommend that you do, kind of going back and seeing how that looks. But just even that example is really incredible power of intention. So let's move on to our journaling prompts. So one of the things, there's 3 things here for us to focus on. And again, this is in going back over that reviewing part of this lesson, is what are the key lessons and what have been the key lessons that you've learned so far. So even looking at the past 4 sessions, what kind of changes have you seen in yourself? What lessons have you learned? Things that you can take away. Sometimes you can think back to a training and immediately you're like, yeah, that was a really good key takeaway for me. Or I did have an aha moment in that session. Or when I went away and applied this, it worked. Or it didn't work. So I made this slight tweak and then it worked. So what have been some of the key lessons? Again, it's really powerful and important and just a brilliant life skill to go back and rehearse and refresh and be like, okay, what have I learned? How have I applied it? Also, what have been some of your wins so far? It's always important to celebrate your wins, to reward yourself, but what have been some of the wins so far? I had the 10 conversations, but by conversation number 2 or by number 7, someone mentioned something and it triggered an idea that I'd never thought of before, because I was speaking to someone in my target audience. So I was suddenly like, oh my gosh, this is a really great idea that I can add to what I'm doing. And it's easy to miss those little key, sometimes it's just these small little movements that actually make a really big impact, that actually awaken us to some new ideas. But also, what have been some of the challenges? So you could have had conversations with people and it could have been kind of triggering in that I was expecting a certain response and that's not what I was getting, because I was pressing hard down a certain road and the feedback that I was getting wasn't resonating. So what have been some of the challenges and how have you overcome them? What have you done with those challenges? Did you stop at conversation number 2 or number 13 and just say, I'm not sure about this anymore, and leave it? Or what did you do? And if you're stuck at a certain challenge or a certain hurdle that you haven't been able to jump, what's the plan of action? Because we started this journey for a reason. You're in this business school for a reason. So what is it that we can do to overcome those challenges? Really important questions. And sometimes it's just as powerful as having a conversation with somebody, sharing that challenge, verbalizing that challenge, not leaving the challenge in the dark where the enemy likes to work and scheme and, you know, just work on our failings and some of our insecurities. But let's bring it into the light. This was a challenge. This is something I'm challenged with in this season about this particular thing right now. So let's look at and review, make some notes about key lessons, some of your wins and some of your challenges. And finally, the planning session. So in terms of the quarter that we're just coming out of, and for now, this is September. So we're looking at quarter 3. So in terms of reflecting, we're looking back on what are the key highlights of quarter 3. So again, sometimes I'll go through my diary, sometimes I'll go through my photos because they can show the highlights. So what are some of the key highlights of quarter 3 when it comes to business, when it comes to work, when it comes to what we've been focusing on here? And what are some of the lessons, again, that I've learned? It's so important to pull out the lessons, not just go through things, but actually realize what are the lessons that life is teaching me, that God is teaching me through this. And then we go on to quarter 4. So the next quarter that's ahead of us, now we start to think forward and to plan. Like I said, where we've been, where we are, and where we're going. So again, what are some of the specific goals for next quarter? For quarter 4, what are some specific goals that you have for that quarter? Great quarter, especially in sales. You've got Black Friday, you've got Christmas, you've got, you know, a new year coming up. So those sorts of milestones are really important to think about and consider. We'll get more into that when we talk about seasonal marketing. And again, what are some of the key activities that you have going on in your business or that you're planning for? And what's some of the marketing attached to that as well? And what are some of the things that you need to learn to help you accomplish your goals? So again, those learning goals, what are some of the key areas? And again, start to write them down, start to think about some of the books and podcasts and even conversations you need to have. But what is it that you need to learn to accomplish your goal? And finally, take some time to plan your personal style in line with your goals. So again, quarter 4, we're moving into autumn and winter. So what does that look like in terms of your personal goals, in terms of your business goals? What does that look and style feel like when it comes to your goals? So here we are with reflecting back and planning forward. So homework for this session. If you remember the homework from session 1 where we talked about your dream and your why and what it is you want to do, think about what that looks like now. When you reflect back, maybe go back to your notes. What was my dream? What was I saying? Does it still resonate with the time that's passed since session 1? Am I still there? Is it accurate and spot on? Or has it tweaked ever so slightly? Or has it completely changed? It's just important to go back and review. As life goes on, as things change, as you develop, it's important to go back and to actually see, is this still what I want? And dream again. Imagine where you'd like to be in 3 to 4 months from now. Be specific and as vivid as possible. And again, write it. Write the vision, write the dream. Just begin to imagine with God. One of the songs I really like is in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. And one of the lines says, "Come with me and we'll be in a world of pure imagination." Use your imagination and dream and write what that looks like. And again, we're so used to doing this for like a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, but in 3 months from now, because it makes it a lot more realistic and a lot more tangible. Enjoy. Thank you.